November 6th, 2021, the AstroWorld Festival in Houston took place. People were expecting to see some of their favourite artists like Travis, Chief Keef, Thug and 21, but were faced with something that honestly looked like hell on earth. Of the 50,000 people that attended, there are currently 9 confirmed deaths ranging from ages 14 to 27, at least 300 injured and likely thousands traumatized. The causes of the deaths being asphyxiation, crushing and cardiac arrest. There are recounts of people all across social media.
My rib cage was so squished that I couldn't expand my chest, expand my lungs to catch a breath.
And the blame is all connected to one man, Travis Scott. Whether or not he's the sole person to blame, you'll find out. Thing is, this isn't necessarily the first time that something like this has happened. And while researching for this video, I realized that Travis has a pretty interesting past. Jax Webster, otherwise known as Travis Scott, grew up in the suburbs of Houston and made music as a teenager. He formed a duo with Chris Holloway and they released an EP in 2009 when Travis was just 16 years old. Seemingly they split and Travis formed a duo with one of his classmates named OG Chess. They produced 2 EPs, Buddy Rich and Cruisin' USA. This is the point where I'd say things begin to get interesting.
Man, I'm doing my independent thing, you know, as far as Travis Scott goes, man, hey, that dude's mad, you know what I'm saying, mad cool, that's the homie from back in the day, you know what I'm saying, I'm happy for his success.
Travis started booking shows without his other half alongside another rapper named Ashton Travis. Later on he had a collab with A$AP Ferg and his partner OG Chess, who was a prevalent figure at the time. He then proceeded to sell the song to Kanye West as his own, despite OG Chess producing a majority of it. From this point onwards, it was clear that Travis believed that he was capable of more without his partner and began to climb the rungs of the music industry ladder. He even tried to reverse sue OG Chess for his own song, but of course he wasn't able to network within the music industry without some assistance. His former manager Shane Morris opened up the network for him as he had the talent but didn't know who to talk to or how to write a coherent email, but it seems like that relationship didn't last too long either.
Travis Scott is the worst person I worked with in my entire career in music.
In the video, Shane goes over how Travis pretty much fucked him over, despite him helping Travis come up as an artist and giving him the necessary connections that he needed to grow. Fast forwards a while and this happened.
I'm Travis Scott's former manager. I'm the one who had a seizure, and I'm the one that he left for dead in a basement in Los Angeles.
As time went on, Travis began to rise in popularity. His mixtapes and album Al Pharaoh, Days Before Rodeo and Rodeo were well received. This is also around the time that Travis began touring and doing large-scale concerts. Something about Travis's fan base is that they're for the most part very young and very impressionable. There are multiple instances where Travis has encouraged and rewarded rager behavior.
One ranger on each box. One ranger. You ready?
An instance of this is 2015 Lollapalooza, where Travis encouraged his fans to jump the security barricades, which he ended up getting arrested for. At another festival the same year at Open Air Frauenfeld, he again encouraged violent behaviour when someone tried to steal his shoe, going as far as to tell people to fuck the guy up.
You wanna be a thief? Fuck him up! Fuck him up! Fuck him up!
And more recently, by far his most controversial performance yet, AstroWorld. AstroWorld Fest is the 4th deadliest concert in terms of crowd-related deaths. It's tied number 9 with Roskilde at 9 deaths, and the only more fatal concerts were the Who and Malversine festivals that both had 12 deaths. There are multiple factors that led to these 9 deaths and hundreds of casualties, and the first one I'll cover is the venue. AstroWorld was hosted in NRG Park in Houston. The event's 100,000 tickets were sold out without an hour, and it's stated that the capacity for the NRG Park is 72,000. If you could do basic subtraction, you can tell that the venue was simply not big enough to hold the volume of tickets sold, so already there seemed to be something sketchy going on. But luckily only an estimated 50,000 people were there, and in addition to the 50,000 people, there were a substantial amount of people running and jumping over security barriers, which leads me into my next point. The organisers, who I think should be held majorly accountable. Live Nation were the organisers of the event, and I have to say this is probably the worst organised concert that I've ever seen. For the capacity that the event had, they were horribly understaffed. In the clip where people are rushing barriers, you can literally see like 2 security guards in this sea of people. With an artist like Travis, as well as the fact that he's encouraged the type of behaviour in the past, it would make sense to bolster up security during the event. And more importantly, the medical team, if you can even call it a team, were also extremely under-equipped and understaffed.
The medical staff was completely overwhelmed. That's not their fault. They were not given the tools to do their jobs. 1 AED, and we had 3, 4, 5 cardiac arrests going on. They had 1 stretcher to carry people out. It was absolute hell.
People that had no medical experience were trying to perform CPR on others, and people that had medical experience were asked to help on the scene. And interestingly enough, Live Nation has a history of hosting dangerous concerts. It's been linked to at least 750 injuries and around 200 deaths at its events in 7 countries since 2006. A lot of people at the concert were also attempting to stop the show. There's instances of people chanting "stop the show," as well as people going up to a cameraman and shouting at him to stop what he's doing. While this is happening, the crowd crush was getting worse as Travis continued to perform, and there are videos of people being crushed or stuck under a pile of bodies. It got so bad that even an ambulance started making its way through the crowd, and of course fans thought the most rational thing to do was dance on top of it, which leads me into the next factor, Travis himself. Travis promotes this kind of rage culture, and Travis's fans, who are predominantly teens, eat that shit up, and I feel like younger fan bases of artists like Travis and Carti, for example, are more likely to do things like this. Travis also acknowledged the ambulance, paused the show, and then just restarted. And him stopping and starting the show happened multiple times. I do think that after a few times he should have just stopped the performance. There's also a clip of him seeming to do the robot and then singing and looking at a lifeless body getting crowd surfed. There are countless clips of rappers keeping the safety of their fans a priority in concerts. Carti, Lil Pump, yes, fucking Lil Pump, and A$AP Rocky. Also in a since now deleted tweet, he talks about sneaking in more fans despite the event being over capacity. And then you have the aftermath. PR statements, probably one of the worst apologies I have ever seen, and lawsuits. AstroWorld Fest and Live Nation released standard PR statements, but a statement from Kylie Jenner is pretty interesting. She claimed that her and Travis weren't aware of any fatalities, but him looking at a body as well as the ambulance completely contradict this statement. Then you have Travis's apology. People are absolutely taking the piss out of it on social media, and to be honest, if you look at it, it's pretty understandable. It doesn't seem sincere at all, and it looks like he just woke up and was forced to apologize.
So we can help assist him through this tough time. You know, my fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience.
He has offered to pay for funerals of those involved as well as mental health services. So who does the accountability fall on? From a legal standpoint, the accountability falls on the team behind Travis, as according to this doc, only 2 people were technically able to stop the concert. I still do believe the moral accountability falls on Travis, and I do think that he should have stopped the concert after pausing multiple times. And even if there were financial repercussions for his actions, I think it's more than worth to face that than face the loss of life.